Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Red Cloud Oktoberfest Fall Mining Showcase. I'm Sebastian Declout. I'm the Senior Vice President of Marketing here at Red Cloud, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing to you today the President and CEO of Grey Cliff Exploration, one of the nicest guys in the industry, Jamie McIntosh, who will give us an overview of some of the drilling that they're doing right now and this exciting gold story. So over to you, Jamie. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Seb. Welcome. Glad to be here, and welcome everyone to what I hope will be a great conference. I'll get right into it. This is our fall presentation. Grey Cliff is a very simple story. It's a gold exploration in a brownfield site. It's high-grade gold in the shadow of an existing head frame. Phase 3 drilling is underway. Phase 2 assay results are pending. We have quite a slew of results, about over 10 holes that are currently at the lab, 15 actually in total. And these will be coming out over the next couple of weeks. We have a second project, the Baldwin project, which is about 1,500 hectares. It has very similar geology to Shakespeare. And the only exploration that, historical exploration that's been done that we can find is for uranium. So we believe that the Baldwin project and the Shakespeare project together could be the starting of a new Ontario gold camp. Management has deep experience in all facets of exploration and development. Our technical team is credited with a number of major Ontario mining discoveries. We have a very tight capital structure, about 25 million shares out. About 40% is held by management, insiders, and some strategic shareholders. So the Shakespeare project is one of the things that sets it apart is the fact that it's got excellent infrastructure. It's just off the Trans-Canada Highway, about 80 kilometers of Trans-Canada Highway west of Sudbury, and 8 kilometers of both paved and gravel road. We have power, water. The property consists of 1 Crown patented lease and 2 Crown leases, which we picked up after we went public, and 40 mineral claims covering about 945 hectares in 1 contiguous block. So the Shakespeare mine was in operation for about 4 years. It was discovered by a prospector named Miller. So you'll see in a lot of our information, we talk about the Miller shaft. They really just produced it they did all the mining was done by hand, including the sinking of the shaft. Phase 1 exploration, we had multiple results in the first 7 holes, including 5.5 meters of 8.6 grams in hole J7. And the phase 2 drilling is now completed. And we have a full suite of results pending. So we've only released the results from hole J8 and J9. J8 being 16 meters of 16.3 grams per ton gold. So we're still getting very good grades, definitely economic grades. And as I said, phase 3 is underway. If you look at the map of our property, it's about 6 kilometers of trend. If you look at the yellow line going through the center, that's the mineralized trend. There has been a lot of field sampling done. Field sampling results return gold, copper, nickel, PGEs, cobalt, silver, and uranium. The area we're drilling is the black, where the black pointer goes, and that's around the area of the Miller shaft. We're trying to get a better idea of the controls for the gold mineralization, as we believe there was multiple phases of mineralization. And you can see, if you look at the mineralized trend, there's a few S curves in there, right by the pits, and just south of the shaft that we do not have, the Foley shaft. And those are replicated in quartz veins. Those are replicated in stockworks. And so we're seeing those as high areas of concentration where there perhaps was as many as 3 phases of mineralization. It's interesting when you look at this, because you can see the Murray Fault, which goes right through the center of the property. That's a 250 kilometer regional fault. And there's a number of significant splays off the fault, and some of which you can see in the red, and some of them also cross-cut directly. So we're quite encouraged by the amount of tectonic activity and the amount of folding and faulting in this area. If you look at it overall, it was really only mined for 4 years, but gold was $19 an ounce, which means that the piece that Miller found at surface that they say, according to the records, was $5,000 per ton, means it was about 250 ounces per ton. So obviously they sank the shaft right there. Limited exploration was carried out over the years. In 2014, a new strategy was developed and partially tested. When we picked up the property, we looked at taking that, and instead of what some of the other people had done, we looked at, let's figure out how the mineralization came to be and how many phases there actually are. You can see in the picture, there's a picture from phase 2 core drilling, where we have one of these fairly high-grade VG sections right in the core. And that one is still in the assay lab. So phase 1, about 1,300 meters. We had anomalous gold in 5 holes. And the best holes were obviously holes 1, 3, and 7. 4.6 meters of 5.5 grams at a depth of 76 meters. So that is within the area of the old workings. And then 5 meters of 5.4 grams at a depth of about 114. And that one also was within the old workings. Now, J7, where we went down below, you can see, sorry, that was actually within the old workings as well. 8.6 grams of 68 with a fairly good sized section of 43 grams over a meter at about 71 meters deep. In phase 2, where we have 14 holes drilled, 16 meters of 16.4, and within that we had some fairly high grade sections, as you can see, including a meter of over 140 grams per ton. In J9, we had 16 meters of 13.3 grams. But when you look at the breakdown of that 16 meter section, there was 4 meters of 52 and about a half a meter of 260 grams per ton and another half a meter of 68 grams per ton. So it shows us that there's these very high grade pockets, but you have a continuous section of mineralization. If you look at our previous press releases, you'll notice that we had the blue section here as 2 zones, or the mineralized trend as 2 zones. We've now realized that there's enough grade over an extended length that it's really just one fairly significant mineralized trend. And I think one of the things that we really liked about it, and this was in our press release from September 23rd, that really where you have these 2 zones, we would look to include both areas in any potential mining scenario and as their economic grades. The other interesting thing about when you look at our results is that the bottom of the old shaft is right where that shows C1403. But the number 3 level, which is above it, actually there's an adit that goes all the way out to the road pretty much. And you could actually access a lot of that area between 3 and level 6 through the number 3 adit, which as soon as the ministry gets back to being a little bit more normalized, we should be able to get some permits done. Anybody that's in this business knows getting any kind of permit right now is extremely difficult. The other thing that's worth pointing out on this slide is if you look at the plan map on the right, you can see that this cross section is almost 50 meters wide. So it's a very wide cross section. And that gives us further confidence that there is definitely economic ore in this deposit. Phase 3 has begun. We actually are making good progress. We plan to do up to 5,000 meters. The whole lengths are about 150 meters in depth. We're also doing some line cutting for ground geophysics, and we're doing a 3D model, which is ongoing. It includes the historic mine workings, all of the field sampling, all 3 phases of drilling, as well as some structural interpretation work that we did. And we're continuing to do prospect as well. And the guys are actually on site right now, identifying new exploration targets along the identified gold horizon. And we're doing airborne geophysics. The geophysics company that we're using was doing work in Red Lake, and with all the forest fires, it was a bit delayed. So they'll definitely be on site before year end. The Baldwin project, as I mentioned, as you can see in this map, it is literally adjacent to the Shakespeare. You'll see the Murray Fault goes right through the middle of that as well, and as well as several fairly predominant splays. The one that cuts through the northwest corner of the property, and there's another one that cuts through the southeast portion of the property. But what we really, really like is that when we were doing our review of past work, we found that the geologic structures and the geologic interpretations from the drill core that was drilled is very similar to what we're seeing at Shakespeare. If you can imagine, they basically drilled core, lay it on the ground, ran a Geiger counter over it and went, okay, not enough, don't bother to assay it. And that was how they did it. So a lot of the core was just basically left on site. It's all gone. We weren't able to find any of it, but that would have been nice. So we're doing preliminary surface sampling. The airborne geophysics that we're going to do in Q4 will cover both properties. And we think this has the potential to be another one. You can see from this map as well how close the Trans-Canada Highway is to both of these properties. It's the white line on the bottom. So we think this has the potential to be a new camp. The company's pretty straightforward. I've been in the business a long time. Started out in the bush, joined Bay Street in the 86 as an analyst, and I've done corporate finance and have managed public and private companies for the last 35 years. I'm a shareholder of every company that I get involved with, and I continue to push that everyone works together. So the big ones on our technical advisory board: Bruce Durham, Don McKinnon. Both those guys are part of the Hemlo group, and of course Bruce was part of the group that actually discovered Golden Giant and David Bell. So in summary, we're a tightly held company that is fundamentally undervalued, and we think the stock is an excellent buy at these prices. Seb, over to you.
Thanks, Jamie. Much appreciated. I mean, we have a couple questions that have come in here. One is, what does the number 3 adit currently look like? Is there a cap at the portal?
So they just filled it in with rock. It'd be very simple with an excavator to reopen it, and it would not be a big issue. The bigger issue is getting the permits.
Okay, that's great. That answers that question. And then the other one is, can you touch on what you think the news flow with assays will look like over the course of the next months?
So as everyone knows right now, the assay labs are chock-a-block full. Everyone's drilling. There's been a lot of flow through raised, and people are busy getting assays into the labs. We have 10 holes from phase 2 at the lab, and we have another 10 holes from phase, more than that, almost 10 holes from phase 3 that are going to be in the lab over the next couple of weeks. So I hope to have a steady flow. I hope it'll be weekly, but it might be every other week of assay results right through until January, February.
That's awesome. Well, given some of the results that you guys have had already, I mean, we're going to be keeping a close eye, obviously, on the Great Cliff story. We all know that the industry on the gold side has been a little bit underwater, but that therein lies the opportunity, as we say. I definitely suggest that everybody takes a closer look at Great Cliff. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, your Red Cloud rep, or Jamie, who will be happy to answer your questions at any time. Thanks so much, Jamie. Really appreciate your time as always, and look forward to what's to come.
Thanks a lot, Seb. Thank you, everyone.